Hey guys, it's Crystal. Today we're discussing Arcane. I know I'm late to the party. I watched it like a couple months after it came out and all the episodes were completed. But it's been a ride. We're going through the motions. I'm excited to talk about it, even though I watched it a while ago, but we're here. So yeah, today we're discussing how Arcane, the Netflix series based off of stories and lore from the game League of Legends, bridges media fandoms like those on Tumblr and Twitter with the gaming community. So there won't be any spoilers to the show in this video, also if that's important for you to know. And let's go! Okay, so now, gamers and fandom people, or fandom folk, or fan folk, or people involved in the fandom community and fandom culture, I will say fandom people and fan folk for this video, but however you refer to those people, that is completely valid. So gamers and fan folk are two sides of the same coin, basically, which is why I find it incredibly amusing as someone who is involved in both communities, because I used to be very much involved in MMORPGs, because I ran guilds. And I'm also involved in fandom a lot because I like fandom, and that's what this whole entire YouTube channel is about. So I find it personally very amusing whenever those two groups of people interact, because whenever they do interact, it's always very inflammatory, and typically if they interact, it's usually during an argument or some type of negative conversation. And as someone who's part of both of those communities, I can see both sides, but also I just find it funny because sometimes they criticize each other for actions or behaviors that they themselves interact with. These communities, they try to act like they hate each other, but really they're the same people. Typically, gamers are seen as male. The majority of people involved in the gaming community are male. It's a very male-dominated field, especially in esports. And typically people see people involved in fandoms as female. It's very much a female-dominated space. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of women doing very cool things, and a lot of men doing very cool things in gaming communities. It's very much like two separate communities with like very much like different gender makeups in their demographics. And gamers and fanfolk or fandom people are both seen as hysterical in their investment of seemingly unproductive interests. And they fight over quote-unquote useless topics and quote-unquote waste their lives online. Typically, people view both gamers and fanfolk as being people who are trying to find a purpose and a place to belong with. And basically, those two groups of people are seen as losers, social outcasts, not socially acceptable in what they're interested in. But really, there's much more nuance when it comes to those communities and those people. All of the stereotypes about fan folk and gamers are entirely untrue, or they are true but with asterisks and other things involved in those stereotypes. And the stereotypes very much neglect to consider that nuance of the communities. I typically only speak about fandom and from a fan person's perspective on this channel, but gaming communities are just as diverse and have many of the same problems fandom communities experience and have. The parallels are uncanny sometimes. But we're not going to talk about the differences today. We're going back. We're going to talk about how one show, Arcane, has been able to bring together people from these two communities. Now, League of Legends is weird. Not weird, but complicated when it comes to classifying its online community. You could call it a gaming community, but it's also a fandom. League of Legends, Overwatch, and Pokemon are all in the same category of a gaming community as well as a fandom community. You could call it a gaming fan community, a fan gaming community, something like that. I want to acknowledge that first because talking about online communities is complicated, and we need that preface when it comes to understanding the complexity of these communities of people online. Arcane in itself is excellent and excels in many different ways. It is a show that is ripe for becoming the next big fandom and having a cultural grip on all of us. The animation is absolutely fantastic. The writing is so tight, and I am prepared for season 2. The characters have all their own arcs, and even minor characters have little things you come back to. And most of all, the show is rewarding to both people who play League of Legends and people who do not. For people who play League of Legends, there's appearances of their favorite champions and allusions to well-known lore in the world. And then for people who don't play League of Legends, exposition of the show eases you into a world with magic and technology coexisting. These two things run alongside universally understood themes of technological progression and the rich versus the poor. And at the end of the day, what makes Arcane work is that it's a good story. Fanfolk can rally behind Arcane to create fan works such as fan art, fan fiction, and fan edits. Meanwhile, League of Legends, as a gaming/fandom community, can enjoy this influx of fan works and increased engagement while supplying their own knowledge of the game and lore. It's a mutualistic relationship that benefits both community types. I'm excited to see how the fandom for Arcane continues to develop and where Riot Games will go from here when it comes to expanding League of Legends as IP. Because I know there's rumors of future shows after Arcane, and then Arcane obviously is getting a second season, so it'll be interesting to see how the story will continue, where it'll go from there. Are we gonna get a League of Legends cinematic universe? I wouldn't mind, but it's interesting to see. Currently, it's been, I think, more than half a year right now since Arcane was first released. So the current state of the fandom is, I'm not sure of the current state of the fandom. I actually didn't research that before this video. I probably should have. When it comes to the current fandom state, it's interesting to see how Arcane will fit into everything and how Riot will expand Arcane and League of Legends as an IP. And it's interesting to see where that will go, because very much things like KDA and not really True Damage, but things like KDA very much expanded into the K-pop sphere and intersected with the K-pop community. And then things like Arcane very much intersected with the cartoon fandom communities that are interested in that. And it's interesting to see how Riot Games is expanding beyond just a game, the idea of focusing on gaming and trying to expand into different mediums and fields. I feel like when it came to Overwatch, they tried to do that, especially when it came to the game, the character designs and the character stories, but I think they just never went through with that because the game itself did not have the potential and the momentum to keep going and to further Overwatch as an IP overall and expand it. But very much with Riot, they're doing well in trying to expand League of Legends IP, and I find that incredibly interesting to observe as someone who's interested in fandoms and online communities and social media. And I'm excited to see where that will go in the future. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you take something away from it and think about how gaming communities and fandoms interact with each other. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and please remember to stay thoughtful. Cue the ad! This video is just me telling you to go watch Arcane. You should go watch it. It's fantastic. And as someone who plays League and loves a good show, I couldn't recommend it enough. Go watch it. Tell me how you feel about it in the comments or not. And take care. Have a good day.